what should we call this? This is character select, but it's more of a kind of a thought process, because there's some changes going on. I think there's a possibility here, and I need to talk to about my main man, Knuckles, as I said. Yeah, we're going to talk about my man Knuckles, who used to be a real big deal, to be honest, and it's all come round. It all came round this show that I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do it for a little while, a couple of months in fact, and talk about Knuckles, but why I think he's so cool and what Sega's done with him and all that, and we'll cover that all today. But what was even more prolific and what sort of made this even more relevant is when, out of nowhere, the voice for Knuckles was going to be this guy. Oh, I hadn't put that in the right place, have I? Jesus, there's so much going on in here. Let me... Idris! I'm taking up too much room. Idris Elba is going to be the voice of Knuckles in the new Sonic movie. So it was, yeah, I bet you guys are going like, well, big deal. What difference does it make? Who cares? I think it is a big deal. I think it's a real big deal. And I think it could potentially be, especially for Knuckles, very, very important. Let's start with what Knuckles used to be. Let's lay the groundworks. So, yeah, Knuckles used to be a big deal. Back in the 90s, you know, Sonic 2 just finished and everyone's gone crazy over that. Sonic 3 is coming out. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Sonic 3, because I just can't keep saying Sonic 3 and Knuckles, when I say Sonic 3, I mean Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It was always meant to be one game, so when I'm saying Sonic 3, I mean the entirety of Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles in one game as it was meant to be played, not as two separate games. So that's what I mean by Sonic 3 before I get out of the way. But yeah, Knuckles used to be a big deal. As you start playing Sonic 3, Super Sonic comes flying across that ocean, Knuckles comes bursting out of the ground and knocks Super Sonic, who's supposed to be invincible by the way, and drops all the emeralds. And then he becomes, you know, Sonic's biggest rival. And he was everywhere. And I distinctly remember there being like a 50-50 split over whether you were the new guy Knuckles or whether you're still like a Sonic fan. And for the longest time I was kind of like, yeah, Sonic this, Sonic that. But as I got older I started to appreciate Knuckles more. And he, like I said, he was massive. Everybody wanted to play Knuckles, and you know, he got his own games and everything else with regards to when Sonic Knuckles came out. You could go back and play Knuckles in Sonic 2 and all that. You know all that. But something happened to him. Remember, there used to be a time where Knuckles was arguably as big as Sonic. Just keep that in mind. Here we are, Sonic R on the Sega Saturn. Why Sonic R? Because I like Sonic R. That's why. What I want to play. Plus you can play Knuckles the whole way through and you can do it within an hour, which is kind of what I wanted. I think there's something here. There's an idea in this game that people truly haven't sort of tapped into again. And I honestly think Traveller's Tales, who's the guy who doesn't make Lego games by the way, actually had a good idea with this. The reason I'm playing it on the Sega Saturn is for the same reason that you guys have all gone crazy for the music. When you play this on, because I've got Sonic Gems Collection, which is great by the way, on the GameCube, which has a lot more features. The graphics are nicer. It's got more look ahead. The frame rate is smoother. It's got weather effects, which is a nice touch. So every level has different types of weather on it. So why then, Bill? I hear you say. Are you playing it on the Sega Saturn if the GameCube version is the best? Well, I'm not a Sega Saturn elitist, even though I love that console. And I'm not going to be one of those people that just simply says, oh, I got to play it on original hardware because that's the way it was intended to play. You play games however you want to play games. The reason I'm playing it on the Sega Saturn is because it runs in 50Hz, which means that you hear more of the music per level. When you play it on the GameCube, it runs at a faster pace, so you don't always get to hear as much of the music as you should do or would do unless you're playing on the Sega Saturn. So that is the reason, and the only reason that I'm playing it on the Sega Saturn. My favourite of the 2D Sonic platform games. Love Sonic 3. I think it's one of the best platform games ever made. And I will cover I will cover Sonic 3 on Game On at some point when I get time, whenever that will be. So I don't want to go into too much detail right now. But that was the introduction to Knuckles, and he impacted in a massive way. And this was his entry, and that was the tipping point where Sega, among all their other mistakes and what they'd done, could have done something really, really cool. And I think they played with the idea, but they got scared after the 32X. So Knuckles is, they do Sonic and Knuckles, they do Sonic 3 in that pack, and then they released the 32X and they do Knuckles Chaotix, which was his own sort of game, and it didn't really do very well. And I think as a result of that, they kind of think, well, Knuckles can't sell a console, so that's where I think they started changing their mind about how popular Knuckles actually was, and decided to stick with Sonic 100%. So in Sonic R, what we have to do to complete it 100% is to collect 5 Sonic coins. That will then come above third to unlock a bonus character. And then we have to get the emeralds, which generally involves collecting 50 rings to open certain doors. And then finish first to actually claim the emeralds. And there's one's hand on virtually every stage. And I love this game. I think it's not your traditional racing game. It's obviously more of a platform, a collectathon kind of thing. It is very short, but I had such a really fun time working the best routes around the tracks and getting used to the controls and things like that. And I love picking this game just to sort of play around for an hour. It's like proper arcade, which is the reason I really like the Sega Saturn. So let's talk about what changed then. So Knuckles, he is built to be a rival to Sonic. That is why he has all these extra abilities to make him interesting to play as. He's not as fast as Sonic, but he can glide, he can climb, he can dig. All these additional moves to make him interesting or a good alternative for Knuckles. And as a result of that, as the games went on and I started playing them more seriously, trying to get all the emeralds, trying to find every aspect of Sonic 3, I ended up sort of enjoying Knuckles more than I did Sonic. That was strengthened by a lot of the media that he was in as well. And same with this game. It was much easier to go around with Knuckles trying to find everything than it was Sonic. There was many problems wrong with the Sega Saturn, right? But one of the biggest problems is there was no Sonic game. Wasn't so much a problem in Japan. Sega Saturn was massive in Japan. But in the US and Europe, people were obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog. And there wasn't a launch game for the Sega Saturn. For ages and ages, they were going on about trying to release a Sonic game, and then Sonic Extreme was coming. Sonic in 3D is definitely coming. It's definitely coming, and it never happened. But you see, I think that was a mistake. Not because they were trying to get a Sonic. Well, yeah, it was. It was because they were trying to get a Sonic game on hardware that was not designed to have it. They should have kept Sonic in 2D. Trying to get Sonic to run fast in a 3D world with that little amount of space on the disk drive and things was a mammoth task, and it was never going to work. I can't see, even after all this time, and you had the most talented game producers in the world, I never can see how they would have made a 3D Sonic game actually really good and make it work, because he was never designed to be in 3D at that time. And he arguably now you could argue that the Sonic games that are out, there's a divide on whether they're good games or not. Sonic's still struggling to this day to sort of make it in 3D. So what was the answer? Here's the answer. You should have focused on Knuckles. Knuckles is more suited for a 3D environment, he says, as Knuckles runs into it. Because he's more of a platforming guy. What they should have done is they should have made Knuckles his own game and put him in his own collective on platform game, you know? That is what I feel they should have done with the Sega Saturn, and I think we would have had maybe not a completely different story, because I think that's, you know, takes more right decisions than just simply one game. But if Knuckles was the focus of the Sega Saturn as a mascot, and they built a platform game around Knuckles, it would have worked. People wouldn't have gone, this isn't Sonic. They would have gone, oh, okay. This is a platform Knuckles game. Knuckles is built for more 3D. It just makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Him climbing walls, collecting things, digging, all the tools that Knuckles has got just lends itself to a 3D game better than Sonic ever did. So yeah, they struggled for ages on the Sega Saturn to make a 3D Sonic game, and what they were coming up with was it was just set up to fail, because I believe Sonic was never meant to be in 3D. Things are a bit different now, and they've made some different games, but a lot of what Sonic is about going fast, and then that is so much harder in a 3D world, especially on the Sega Saturn. So as much as they were struggling to get a Sonic game on the Sega Saturn, because that's what the general public was screaming for, they should have gone with Knuckles as the lead, and I think that would have gone a long way in setting the precedence and helping talented game designers make a decent 3D Sonic experience with Knuckles, because he can climb, he can dig, he can glide, he is set to be in a 3D world more than Sonic ever was. And you can have Sonic make appearances and do speed levels and things, sure, but Knuckles should have been the focus, and I think that's what they should have done on the Sega Saturn. They should have forgotten, to a certain degree, Sonic on there, and just made maybe a Sonic Mania or kept Sonic in 2D, and then they should have capitalised on the popularity of Knuckles from Sonic 3 and stuck him in his own 3D game instead, and I think that would have made a big difference. And I still don't understand why they haven't done it. Well, I do know why they haven't done it. Let's talk about that next. So after all these years later, why have they still not made it a Knuckles platform game? We'll talk about that later. But yes, in my opinion, that would have been the smarter choice. Put Knuckles in his own 3D game. That's what the Sega Saturn should have done. If they know they get hate, but I actually enjoy the treasure hunt levels in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. They are, that's a good start, but again, because it's the mishmash, Kizra, of all those different Sonic mini games, you know, going fast, shooting, and all that kind of stuff. If they would have focused, putting Knuckles in a level that is based around part of Sonic's level didn't work. They needed to make levels specifically for that style. You know, and things like Croc and stuff like that were on the Sega Saturn. Tomb Raider. So imagine kind of like a Tomb Raider Croc type platformer, maybe a bit like Crash Bandicoot, but with Knuckles as the lead. Make it a collectathon, and then I think you would have had a very good 3D experience that we probably would still be talking about now, if not had loads of different sequels to it. What happened to Knuckles? You know, where did he go then after his popularity of 3? Well, I think they were so busy trying to get Sonic from 2D to 3D, not realising the easy layup. I say easy, game development's never easy, but they had the layup to put Knuckles in the game instead, and basically move forward with Knuckles as a main role. But you see, I think they scared themselves with the 32X. Little console that clicks onto the Mega Drive, and Knuckles didn't sell those consoles, and that game is just such an unfair example as to what Knuckles could have done, and it wasn't fair to sort of put him in that game and say, okay, this Knuckles obviously doesn't sell consoles, you know, because Knuckles was supposed to be always moody, you know, he was a loner. And I think, again, he had that in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 still. There's still elements of what he was. But as the games went on, he started to lose it. There's my 5 coins. the first time you see him in Sonic Adventure, he's kind of moping around, looking after the Master Emerald, kind of by himself and things. And as the game went on, it still felt like Knuckles was Knuckles. And then Sonic Adventure 2, he was a little bit more of a comedy act because of how Rouge the Bat kind of made him feel. He just became more of an afterthought. As soon as Shadow, there you go, that's what I was looking for. As soon as Shadow came along, they passed one of the biggest things that Knuckles was, which was supposed to be Sonic's biggest rival, to Shadow the Hedgehog. And I know there's loads of people out there that love Shadow the Hedgehog. Fair enough, you know, you love what you love. But for me, once it's like wrestling. You're supposed to be the #1 bad guy in the company. Then you give it to someone else, and then suddenly that person. What's the point of you being around here anymore? Knuckles felt very much like that. He was more of a buddy, someone to fill in and do extra stuff when you wanted to do a sports title or something like that. So he lost his identity as Sonic's biggest rival. I mean, I don't know if people these days would even think Knuckles could keep up with Sonic because of what they've done with him. And then, of course, we move on to things like Sonic Boom, where he's a massive caricature of himself, where he's more of a klutzy, dumb brute than he was the cunning character that would use his environment to trick Sonic into traps and things like that. He was just a butt of a joke. You know, so they took this character that was, I do believe it was like 50-50 at one point, when Knuckles was just as big as Sonic. And then they completely ruined it by watering down his character, giving responsibilities to other characters. More characters came in and sort of underwhelmed him. Apparently a poll still suggests he's the third favourite character out of the cast. And then afterwards they decided to lean heavily into the joke and made him a butt of the joke with this kind of brutish kind of, I'm Knuckles kind of attitude, the dumb one, but he's the strongest with Sonic Boom. But he never was that, you know. But when I was growing up, he never was that. He was the one that uses his brain. Sonic was the dumb one. Sonic got by on his skills. It was Knuckles that used his brain and his brawn to defeat Sonic because of the fact that he was. He was too fast to be able to beat in a straight-up fight, so he had to use the buttons dotted around the level to trick Sonic into traps, or to keep ahead of him by sneaking by and things like that. It was always interesting in the comics and the cartoons to see what Knuckles would do to outsmart his opponent, rather than try and beat them in a straight-up fight every time. And I think it's because the Japanese, when Sonic Adventure came out and the Japanese decided to say, right, because everywhere in the world, they had their own continuity about what Sonic was. I mean, we had Mobius and Dr. Robotnik, whereas they had Eggman, and it was actually on Earth that Sonic lived. When Sonic Adventure came out, they all decided that, no, okay, we're resetting everything and everything's going to be Japanese continuity. And I think Knuckles fell into what the Japanese perceived Knuckles to be, whereas we were, we had a cagey Knuckles, someone who was smart, a worthy rival to, oh no, Sonic's going to beat me on the thing. Worthy rival to Sonic, and I bet he's going to take it on the last lap as well, isn't he? This is why it's going to be close. Woo! And that's perfect! Sonic and Knuckles dead on the last line. He was always a worthy rival to Knuckles because of what he did, but I think the Japanese one, he was more gullible and shy, and they focused on that, and I always preferred the more capable Knuckles. What they've tried to do with by copying Mario all this time, they make Sonic games, and I think they make an idea for a game first. Sonic Lost World, Sonic Unleashed, all that kind of stuff. And once they've come up with an idea and a storyline, because people my god, they love their Sonic storylines and how in-depth they are, don't they? They then go, right, how do we make it fast? Not, how do we make a fast game and then put Sonic in it? They make a game first and then they go, how do I make this game fast? Now Sonic's supposed to be the hero. And there's just so many times where I just think, if you just use Knuckles who is built for a 3D world because he can glide, he can climb, he can dig, and he's got a massive moveset like Mario does, then you could have had all of that. Now, people will say this and go, oh yeah, Bill, good one. But trust me, back in the day, that was feasible because Knuckles was massive. Knuckles was popular. Now, of course, it's a stupid idea. Who would buy it? Because everybody wants Sonic the Hedgehog because they made that decision. Because they did nothing but Sonic game after Sonic game after Sonic game. But if they would have had a spin-off series and had Knuckles in it, for those heavy 3D platform collectathons, that would have worked. I believe you would have had two separate franchises, one for the 3D platforming and one for the fast stuff. And when they did things like Sonic Unleashed, they could have brought Knuckles and Sonic back into a crossover event where you could have had the platforming part with Knuckles and the speed with Sonic. A British comic called Sonic the Comic. And this was my Knuckles, the Knuckles that was here. He still was that loner. He was that tough guy. He was that reluctant hero. He was that character that where Sonic was just a dick, Knuckles was the one who was the honourable hero who did the right thing, and I liked that. I liked that he was the loner, that he had a good heart about him, and it made him a more interesting character to read. So as the Sonic the Comic went on, they obviously covered the games and the storylines and stuff like that, and they put detail behind the story that was kind of subtly set up by the games. So they'd covered the Chaotix storyline. They covered Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And they intertwined all this storyline that was really, really cool. And sort of gave depth to that character. So when I was playing Sonic 3 and stuff, it was this Knuckles that I was envisioning, this kind of powerhouse kind of character that was a reluctant hero. This Knuckles made more sense, and again, he was more relevant to being Sonic's rival. And this particular storyline was what cemented Knuckles as my favourite character. Knuckles is obviously guardian of the emeralds. The Master Emerald gets shattered, and he goes on a journey to restore the Master Emerald by getting raw materials from all over Mobius and bringing it back to his floating island to reconstruct the Master Emerald before the floating island, or Angel Island, crashes and destroys everything. And he goes on this massive journey travelling around, and this image of him carrying it and wearing the cloak and travelling around just cemented the fact that what if they just turned that into a game? What if Knuckles just travelled around collecting the emeralds or collecting pieces of a Master Emerald in desert areas, in water areas, and all of that kind of stuff? For Sonic's birthday, Richard Elson came back and drew this image for Sonic R, which I thought was kind of cool. And again, it's got the whole cast from Sonic R in here. But yeah, if it was Richard Elson and the team at Sonic the Comic UK who moulded what Knuckles is as a character. He wasn't interested in being popular. He wasn't interested in showing off. He wasn't dumb. He was a capable, intelligent, resourceful character who knew that he couldn't just beat people every time in a straight-up fist fight like they have now. He's the brawler, isn't he? But he could fight. He could use his brains and trick you, and he uses his environment. And so many times where you just think, well, Knuckles, you just punch him, right? But he knew that wouldn't be enough, so he went and used the area, found weapons, used traps or whatever, used his brains. And it was Sonic the Comic that did that the best for me. And I just wish they went with that Knuckles, and you could have had such an interesting kind of branch off to use on the Sega Saturn, to use on the Dreamcast. And you wouldn't just have Sonic the franchise with this personality issue that I've constantly had with Sonic, where it's like, it's identity crisis. What is Sonic? You say that to somebody, you think, well, he's the guy that goes fast. Yeah, but is he a 3D game? Is he a 2D game? Is he what he is on the Wii with all those kind of motion things with Sonic and the Black Knight and secret rings and stuff? Or is it more like Colours or Sonic Unleashed? Is it Sonic Adventure? It's just, they've tried to make Sonic so many different things. What they should have done is take some of those ideas and branched it into a different franchise where it's Knuckles the Echidna. and they could have done Sonic Fast games and Knuckle platform games, and I don't think it would have had this quite of identity crisis. And if they just would have focused on this personality that Sonic the Comic UK built and other areas, then you wouldn't be laughing at my suggestion now, thinking, well, he's a joke, Bill. They're not going to do this. Knuckles is a meme. He wouldn't be a joke. He wouldn't be a joke. So, yeah, Luigi's Mansion. They don't just put Mario in the next Luigi's Mansion because they thought, oh, Mario's got more buying power. They literally said, that's Luigi's game. This is Luigi's playstyle. And they built a whole kind of... Look what happened to Luigi. Oh my god, I've only just thought about this. Look what happened to Luigi after they made Luigi's Mansion. They had the Year of Luigi, and Luigi had his own fan base, and everybody loves Luigi for Luigi now, and there's obviously dedicated Luigi fans. That's what I think they should have done with Knuckles. They should have built his own kind of franchise around these platform games, and then you'd get just as many people who would literally think Knuckles is no longer just a character that's in the background behind Sonic, but they would actually believe that Knuckles is his own entity, his own franchise, his own thing. Knuckles in Smash Brothers. Now, he is by far my most wished upon character in out of any character I wish I could have in Smash Brothers. Knuckles is that character because of what has been said. He is just so versatile on what moveset he's got. And I just think he'd be like perfect for Smash Brothers. Sega would have treated Knuckles better. It would have been a done deal. You know, after Sonic and Knuckles, and even through the Sonic Adventure times, Knuckles being in Smash Brothers wouldn't be such a crazy statement. Yes, I know he's in an assist trophy, and that is because of his popularity in games like Sonic 3 and stuff. But if they would have kept that momentum going with what they had with Knuckles, then he would have been, without a doubt, in the game properly. You know, his glide ability, his to get back on the stage, his ground and digging abilities to give him loads of different unique special moves. He would be perfect for Smash Brothers. And it wouldn't, like I said, it wouldn't be a crazy thing if you were talking about what cast of characters would you have when you're in the early 2000s, late 90s. Knuckles would be way up there. But because of how they've treated him now, it is never going to happen. Final Smash ideas. I suppose they probably would have gone with... let's talk about Super Knuckles. I never thought Super Knuckles was a good look for Knuckles, to be fair. I would have thought they could have done a lot more than just a shiny pink echidna. It was never as cool as Super Sonic. And you'd think the caretaker of the Master Emeralds would have had some sort of much better super form. Maybe he would have if they would have given him a bit more care. But he would have had a much better super form than what he actually got. So I suppose he would have gone with that. However, I think it would have been cool for him to have a button that he presses and maybe fire comes out of the ground like it does in Sonic 3. Maybe uses as a power of the Master Emerald somehow to sort of, I would say, maybe drop the Angel Island on people's heads, but that just seems a bit... I don't think Knuckles would ever do that. But use maybe some sort of flash from the Master Emerald. But I think, really, if it was me, I'd get him pressing one of his trademark buttons, which, by the way, he's never used since friggin' Sonic 3. Why? That's so iconic for him. But yeah, just press a button and just cause havoc for everybody. And a bit like, you know, like some of the Pokemon, where they do different effects depending on random. He could make fire come out of the ground, maybe make the water rise, turn the level upside down, you know, all kinds of things. I would love that. I think he would be I just think he's a perfect Smash Brothers character. That sound is one of the glitches on the Sega Saturn version. That proves that I'm playing on the Sega Saturn, because that's the sound of one of the propellers getting stuck. Hopefully that will go away when this reloads. I'm not going to get rid of it. Damn you, Tails! I think Knuckles is on a comeback. I think Knuckles is literally going to get to a comeback, and I'll tell you why. Idris Elba is a serious actor. You know, he's got that kind of voice that puts a serious tone, or can put a serious tone on Knuckles. And I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing that he might come in and he just might put on a really daft voice, and Knuckles could be the same kind of silly character he's been for the last 15 years. But what if he's not? In the same way that Jason Momoa was to Aquaman. You know, Aquaman was a joke for so long, and he still is for a lot of people. But when Jason Momoa picked up Aquaman and did that movie and acted like that, everyone was like, Aquaman's really cool. And, you know, Aquaman came out of the most laughed at superhero after things like Robot Chicken and what everybody else did with him. And now Aquaman is clearly one of those characters like, well, you talking about Aquaman or Jason Momoa Aquaman? What if they do that with Knuckles? And they go, and you talk about Sonic Boom Knuckles or Idris Elba Knuckles? He could literally be that popular character again. And this is the time that Knuckles I always wanted, that stoic, smooth thinking, planning out ahead of time, outwitting character that Knuckles was in Sonic 3 and for a lot of Sonic Adventure. He could make a comeback, you know, Sonic the Comic. Idris Elba could deliver that Knuckles for me. And that's quite exciting for me. I think this is a good opportunity to sort of do that. I'm not saying he's going to necessarily spawn all his own games and stuff. You know, like I think that time may have passed. I'd like to be wrong. I'd be pleasantly surprised if that is the case, you know. But there's a good chance that Idris Elba could give Knuckles some credibility again. I honestly do believe that. I'm more than happy to have Knuckles from Sonic Boom and all those iterations. I still think he's more interesting than Sonic because of all those iterations of what Knuckles actually is or who he should be. But enough is enough. Let's go back to the Knuckles that is credible, and I honestly think Idris Elba will do that for Knuckles. When this movie comes out, if Knuckles has got a big role, and I mean you won't necessarily pay for someone like Idris Elba unless you're going to give him a big role, right? Well, then again, I guess you had Sylvester Stallone as King Shark, and you had Vin Diesel as Groot, so maybe that's not the case so much anymore. But I'd hope that if you're going to get Idris Elba on board, he's going to put something to the character, and I just don't see him goofing off like they did in Sonic Boom. I feel that he's more of an actor you'd go with if you're going to make a serious Knuckles. Ultimately, why I think Idris Elba being cast as Knuckles made it the most important, maybe the most important thing to happen to Knuckles in the last 20 years. Because it can almost be a reboot for the character where they go, I don't want crazy Knuckles like he is in Sonic Boom. I also don't want Knuckles from the Adventure franchise because he's kind of boring. I want Knuckles to be back like he is in the movie, like he was in Sonic 3, like they should move forward with like he is in the Sonic the Comic. That's it. That's my thoughts. Let me know. Keep the conversation going if you're interested. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the Discord on OLL Games. Let me hear your thoughts and feelings. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I got a point? Do you think that Sonic 1 movie was a fluke and the second one there's no way that can necessarily be any good? Well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll see.